I want you to walk into your kitchen right now and look at the sink. It is likely the place where you prepare your meals, where you wash the vegetables for your salad, and where you clean the plates that your grandchildren eat off of. You probably pride yourself on keeping a clean house. You wipe down the counters, you scrub the pots, and you make sure there are no crumbs left behind. But sitting right there on the edge of the sink, or perhaps resting in a little plastic tray, is an object that you use every single day. It might be yellow on one side and green on the other. It feels soft when it is wet and hard when it is dry. You use it to clean everything. But I am here to tell you that this object, your kitchen sponge, is almost certainly the filthiest, most dangerous item in your entire home. It is dirtier than your trash can. It is dirtier than the floor where you walk with your shoes on. And, according to microbiologists, it is dirtier than your toilet seat. In fact, it can contain up to 200,000 times more bacteria than the toilet. This is not just a disgusting fact to talk about at a dinner party. For those of us over the age of 60, this is a legitimate health hazard. That innocent-looking sponge is a luxury hotel for pathogens that can cause food poisoning, skin infections, and even life-threatening pneumonia. We are going to talk about a specific bacteria called Klebsiella, which thrives in the moist environment of a sponge and is a leading cause of lung infections in seniors. We are going to explore why your immune system, which could handle this bacteria when you were 30, might struggle to fight it off now. We are going to look at the mechanics of cross-contamination, where you think you are cleaning your counter but you are actually painting it with a layer of invisible germs. And most importantly, I am going to give you the simple, scientifically proven methods to sterilize that sponge, or the alternative tools you should be using, to ensure that your kitchen remains a place of nourishment, not a source of sickness. By the end of this video, you will never look at that squishy yellow brick the same way again. To understand why the sponge is such a villain, we have to look at its design. It is built to be the perfect bacterial incubator. A sponge is porous. It is full of holes. We like this because it holds water and soap. But bacteria love it for the exact same reason. Those holes provide millions of tiny, protected apartments for germs to live in. When you wash your dishes, you are scrubbing off food particles, bits of meat, grease, egg yolk, vegetable matter. Where do those particles go? They get trapped deep inside the pores of the sponge. Even if you rinse it, you cannot get everything out. So, you have a damp, warm environment that is stocked with a constant supply of food. It is an all-you-can-eat buffet for microbes. Then, you leave it on the counter. It stays wet for hours. Bacteria need moisture to survive and multiply. In this environment, a single bacterium can multiply into millions in less than 8 hours. If you leave a damp sponge overnight, by the time you come down for coffee in the morning, that sponge is teeming with a population of pathogens that rivals a petri dish in a laboratory. And then, the first thing you do is pick it up and wipe down your table. You think you are cleaning the table for breakfast. In reality, you are spreading a thin, invisible film of Salmonella, E. Coli, and fecal bacteria across the surface where you are about to put your toast. Let's talk about the specific threat of pneumonia. This is the part that shocks most people. You usually think of pneumonia as something you catch from someone coughing on you. But there is a bacteria called Klebsiella pneumoniae. It is naturally found in the human gut, where it is harmless. But if it gets out of the gut and into other parts of the body, it is dangerous. It loves kitchen sponges. A study from Germany looked at used kitchen sponges and found that Klebsiella was one of the most common dominant bacteria present. For a senior, this is critical because of a process called aspiration. As we age, the muscles in our throat that control swallowing can weaken slightly. We might choke on a crumb or swallow water the wrong way more often. We also inhale microscopic droplets from the air. If you wipe your counter with a contaminated sponge, and then put your hand on the counter, and then touch your mouth or your nose, you are introducing those bacteria to your respiratory tract. Or, if you use that sponge to wash an apple and then eat the apple, you are ingesting it. If you accidentally inhale tiny particles containing Klebsiella, and your immune system is a little slow, that bacteria can settle in your lungs. It causes a severe, difficult to treat form of pneumonia that has a high mortality rate in the elderly. It is a silent invasion that starts at the kitchen sink. We also need to discuss the smell. You know that smell. You pick up the sponge and it has a sour, mildewy, wet dog odor. We often ignore it, or we pump some dish soap on it to mask it. I need you to understand what that smell is. That smell is the metabolic waste gas produced by billions of bacteria consuming the rotting food inside the sponge. Specifically, a bacteria called Moraxella osloensis is responsible for that stinky laundry smell. If your sponge smells, it is not a little dirty. It is biologically compromised. It is screaming at you that the bacterial load is too high. Using a smelly sponge to wash a clean dish is a contradiction. You are taking a sterile ceramic plate and coating it with bacterial waste. Why is this worse for us now than it was 20 years ago? It comes down to immunosenescence. This is the gradual deterioration of the immune system brought on by natural age advancement. Your white blood cells aren't as fast as they used to be. Your stomach acid, which kills ingested bacteria, is likely less acidic than it was in your youth, especially if you take heartburn medication. The barrier that used to protect you is thinner. A load of bacteria that would have given you a mild tummy ache at 30 can send you to the hospital with dehydration and sepsis at 70. We have to be cleaner because our internal defenses are lower. We have lost our margin for error. Let's look at the cross-contamination zones in your kitchen. This is how the sponge spreads the enemy. Zone 1, the cutting board. You cut raw chicken. You scrub the board with the sponge. Now the sponge has salmonella. You rinse the sponge. Then you use the same sponge to wipe the knife you used to cut your apple. You have just transferred raw chicken bacteria to your fresh fruit. Zone 2, the handle. You wipe the faucet handle with the sponge. Later, you wash your hands, turn off the faucet with your clean hand, and immediately recontaminate your hand with the bacteria you left there 3 hours ago. Zone 3, the drying rack. You wash the dishes with the dirty sponge and put them in the rack. The bacteria are still on the plates. They dry there. You eat off them. So, is the solution to stop washing dishes? Of course not. The solution is to treat the sponge like a hazardous material, or to switch tools entirely. Here is the sponge safety protocol that every senior household should adopt. First, let's talk about disinfecting. Can you save a sponge? Yes, but simply rinsing it in hot water does nothing. The water from your tap is not hot enough to kill bacteria. It needs to be boiling. Method 1, the microwave. This is the most effective method, killing 99.9% of bacteria. But you must do it right to avoid a fire. Take your sponge. Soak it completely in water. It must be soaking wet. Put it in the microwave. High power for 2 minutes. Watch it. The water inside the sponge will boil, creating steam. The steam penetrates the pores and cooks the bacteria. Let it cool completely before you touch it, it will be scalding hot. Do this every single day. Method 2, the dishwasher. If you run your dishwasher daily, put the sponge in the top rack or the silverware basket. Use the heated dry or sanitize cycle. The combination of the detergent and the prolonged high heat will kill the pathogens. However, even with cleaning, a sponge has a lifespan. A sponge is not an heirloom. It is a disposable tool. If you are microwaving it daily, you can keep it for a week. Maybe 2. But the moment it starts to shred, crumble, or smell, even a little bit, it goes in the trash. Do not try to save it. Do not use it just for the floor. Get it out of your house. Buying a bulk pack of sponges at Costco or Amazon is the best health insurance you can buy. Treat them as weekly disposables. But there is a better alternative. Why are we married to the sponge? In many professional kitchens and in other cultures, they don't use sponges. They use brushes. A dish brush with plastic or silicone bristles is vastly superior for seniors. Why? Because it dries. The bristles are open to the air. Water shakes off them instantly. Bacteria cannot survive on a dry surface. If you use a brush, scrub the pot, rinse the brush, and stand it up, it is dry in 20 minutes. The bacteria die of thirst. Also, from an ergonomic standpoint, a brush has a handle. If you have arthritis in your hands, gripping a handle is much easier than clawing your hand around a sponge. It keeps your hands out of the hot water and away from the chemicals in the soap. It is a tool that protects your joints and your lungs. Another excellent alternative is the dish rag or washcloth, but only if you follow the one and done rule. A cotton cloth is great for wiping counters. But you cannot leave it in a ball in the sink. You use it for one session, washing the dishes or wiping the table, and then you throw it directly into the washing machine or the laundry hamper. You grab a fresh one for the next meal. If you have a stack of 20 cheap washcloths, you always have a sterile one ready. You never reuse a wet cloth. This eliminates the incubation period entirely. Let's talk about the meat situation. If you cook raw meat, chicken, beef, pork, fish, do not use your regular sponge to clean the cutting board or the knife. Use a paper towel with a disinfectant spray to do the initial cleanup. Get the gross stuff up with something disposable. Then, wash with hot soapy water. Do not load your sponge with raw meat juice. That is a recipe for disaster. Once raw meat touches a sponge, that sponge is compromised forever in my book. It is safer to just toss it or use a paper towel. I want to address the antibacterial sponge. You see these in the store. They claim to resist odors and kill germs. Do not be lulled into a false sense of security. These sponges are treated with chemicals, like triclosan, that might inhibit some bacteria growth for a little while, but they wear off. And they don't stop food from getting trapped in the pores. A trapped piece of rotting spinach will breed bacteria regardless of the chemical coating on the foam. An antibacterial sponge that is 2 weeks old is just as dangerous as a regular one. Do not trust the label, trust the physics of moisture and rot. There is also a psychological aspect to this. We grew up saving pennies. We hate waste. Throwing away a sponge that still looks good feels wrong. It feels wasteful. But you have to weigh the cost of a sponge, about 75 cents, against the cost of your health. A bout of food poisoning can dehydrate you, damage your kidneys, and leave you weak for a month. Pneumonia can be fatal. Is saving 75 cents worth that risk? Absolutely not. You have earned the right to prioritize your safety over extreme frugality. Let's look at the sink itself. The drain. The sponge sits in or near the drain. The drain is a dark, wet pipe coated in biofilm. Biofilm is a slimy glue that bacteria secrete to protect themselves. It makes them resistant to soap. When you drop your sponge in the sink, it picks up the bacteria from the drain. You need to sanitize your sink too. Once or twice a week, fill the sink with water and a little bleach, or use a disinfectant cleaner. And keep the sponge out of the sink. Buy a little wire holder that attaches to the wall or sits on the counter to let air circulate around the sponge. If the sponge sits in a puddle, it is breeding. What about the drying of the sponge? Some people think squeezing it out is enough. It isn't. Squeezing removes the big water, but the sponge remains damp at the microscopic level. That dampness is enough for life. That is why the microwave or the dishwasher heat is necessary. You need to kill. Not just dry. Let's visualize your new kitchen routine. You finish dinner. You have some dirty plates. Option A, the brush. You grab your long-handled dish brush. You scrub the plates under hot running water. You put them in the dishwasher. You shake the brush dry and stand it up. It is clean. Option B, the sponge. You take your sponge. You wash the dishes. You rinse the sponge thoroughly. Then, while it is still wet, you pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes. You hear the beep. You leave it to cool. You know it is sterilized for tomorrow. Option C, the rag. You take a clean cotton cloth from the drawer. You wash the table and the counters. You throw that cloth into the laundry basket. You are done. Any of these options breaks the chain of infection. They stop the Klebsiella. They stop the Salmonella. They protect your lungs and your gut. I want you to think about your hand towel as well. The towel hanging on the oven door. You wash your hands, but maybe you didn't wash them perfectly. You wipe them on the towel. Then you wipe your hands on the towel after handling raw meat, thinking they were clean. Then your spouse wipes their hands. The hand towel is the cousin of the sponge. It stays damp. It holds germs. Change your kitchen hand towel every single day. Do not let it hang there for a week. We often focus on eating healthy, eating kale, avoiding sugar. But eating healthy also means eating clean. It means not ingesting invisible pathogens with your organic salad. Hygiene is a pillar of longevity. There is a myth that a little dirt is good for the immune system. This is the hygiene hypothesis. And for a toddler playing in the dirt, it is true. It builds immunity. But for a 70-year-old? No. That window has closed. Your immune system is educated already, now it is just tired. You do not need to challenge your immune system with Salmonella to keep it strong. You need to protect it so it can focus on fighting viruses or cancer cells, not fighting off your dirty sponge. Let's talk about the material of the sponge. Some are made of cellulose, wood pulp, some are plastic. Cellulose sponges, the stiff ones that get soft in water, are actually slightly better because they dry out faster and harder than the synthetic foam ones. The plastic foam sponges stay wet forever. If you must use a sponge, buy the natural cellulose kind. They are biodegradable, too. So, here is your assignment for today. Go to your kitchen. Pick up your sponge. Smell it. If it has any odor at all, throw it away immediately. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Throw it away. Go to the store. Buy a pack of cheap sponges, or better yet, buy a dish brush. Put a sticky note on your microwave, zap sponge 2 minutes. Make this a habit. It is a small thing. It is a mundane object. But in the world of microbiology, the small things are the ones that kill you. The unseen enemies are the most dangerous. You have the power to sterilize your environment. You have the power to close the door on pneumonia and food poisoning. It doesn't require a prescription. It doesn't require a doctor. It just requires a microwave and a little bit of knowledge. Take care of your kitchen, and your kitchen will take care of you. Keep it dry. Keep it hot. And keep it safe. Thank you for listening. This might seem like a small detail in your life, but fixing it can prevent a major health crisis. Share this with your neighbors and your family. Let's clean up our act, one sponge at a time. Stay safe, stay clean, and stay healthy.